Salvete discipuli. All right, today we are going to wrap up the Titans. Spoiler alert, they're going to lose. They're not going to rule the universe very much longer. All right, so let's get into it. Recapping. First there was chaos, then came Gaia and Uranus. They created the Cyclopes and Hecaton Kyries. Uranus hated the Hecaton Kyries and the Cyclopes, so they got locked up in the underworld, and the Titans are now in control of the universe. Kronos is the ruler of the universe. He deposed Uranus. All of that has happened in the previous videos. So again, if you are a little bit behind, remember that you've got to do each assignment in chronological order because it goes in order of the story. So all that stuff I just zoomed by, if any of that stuff is a little iffy for you, go back and check out some of those old assignments or check out the playlist on the YouTube channel where you can watch all the videos in chronological order. All right, Kronos has taken power. His wife, Rhea, is the queen. He is the king of the universe. Remember, again, there's no one else really around yet in the universe besides these powerful gods. Kronos stole power from his father, Uranus. Kronos is worried that one of his sons will do the same to him. So when Rhea starts having children, Kronos comes up with an idea. He will stop his children from overthrowing him by eating them. So like in many mythological stories, we have a hideous, gruesome act of violence. 5 children in a row. Kronos swallows them as they are born. Now eventually, Rhea doesn't like this idea. Rhea wants to have her children. So Rhea is going to trick her husband. She's going to fool him into actually swallowing a stone wrapped in a blanket in the place of the 6th child. This makes you kind of think, how intelligent is Kronos if he cannot tell the difference between a baby Titan and a stone? The answer is apparently not very smart. Okay, so picking up there. Wait for it, sorry. All right. Here is some other art depicting this story. Open. Sorry, technical difficulty. There we go. All right. So Kronos is also called Saturn or Saturnus in Latin. He is generally depicted as a large, male, godlike figure. You might confuse him with Uranus or with his son Zeus. The thing to look out for to recognize Kronos or Saturn is usually some sort of farming implement, a scythe or a sickle. Rhea, his wife, generally will look like a queen sitting on a throne, generally with some sort of symbol of life or fertility or growth, like a bowl of food or some other sort of representation of food. Or fertility, that is, Rhea is frequently depicted as a mother, as a child bearer, as somebody who deeply cares for her children and of course wants to prevent her husband from eating them. So again, I'm mixing in a lot of art from different time periods. At these early stages in Greek mythology, there isn't too much classical art to go with, so a lot of what you're looking at is obviously modern. Kronos and Rhea depicted as being an unhappy couple in this cartoon-like depiction. Again, one of the clearest symbols of Kronos or Saturn that you can find is a farming implement, either a scythe or a sickle. This one here is a scythe. Again, a scythe is a full-length one like the Grim Reaper has. A sickle is one that you hold in your hand. Here we have Rhea presenting one of the children to Kronos. Again, Kronos, the ruler of the universe and king. Here is an ancient version of that, which we unfortunately don't have a high resolution picture of. Classic pose of Rhea handing over the, we don't really know what's in that, do we? It could be a baby, could be the stone, to Kronos. And again, notice the seated position. Like he's the king, he's on a throne. Now, kind of violent here. Modern depictions of Kronos are very bad. That is, it's very interesting that in the ancient world, somebody eating their own children wasn't really depicted as being incredibly evil. So modern day painters, Goya and Rubens, here's Goya, are going to depict the brutality and awfulness of this event. So Kronos is depicted as being old. He has his scythe. I'll zoom in on that so you can see it a little bit better. There again, you can see the hooked blade. And remember what that is. It's not just a farming implement. It's also the weapon that he used to depose Uranus. And again, the horror, the gruesomeness, the grisliness of this. You are already not on his side. Like as an audience member, you want someone to stop him. Like no one would think that this is okay. Like look at the poor baby. This is terrible. This is awful. Somebody's got to stop this guy. And here in Peter Paul Rubens' depiction, it's very, very obvious. I mean, look at the guy. He looks awful. He looks terrible. And the poor baby is hopeless and defenseless. Again, it's been analyzed by people in generations after the time of Greece and Rome, that the myths are actually really bad. That the myths are not morals to like learn lessons from. The myths are oftentimes depict horrible acts of violence that are brutal and terrible. In this one, which is a little bit more abstract, it kind of like, it's not as gruesome and as grisly because it's a little bit more amorphic. Still, the horror is presented at that Saturn or Kronos is awful. He's terrible. And it kind of makes you think, maybe the Titans really were kind of like the Hecatonchires or the Cyclopes. Brutal, awful monsters. Doesn't this look brutal? Isn't he a monster? Don't you think of him as a monster? And then, of course, those children who were swallowed by Kronos are going to end up to be Poseidon, Demeter, Hades, Hera, and Hestia, and the sixth one, Zeus, never actually gets swallowed. And then, of course, like I was saying, you have to kind of suspend your disbelief. Like, how would he not know what a rock is? So this cartoon here has Kronos saying, Rhea, is this our newborn child? I must devour him. And she's like, yeah, here's the baby. And he's like, well, it looks just like me, right? Because it's a rock. So there's the art of that. And then bringing us back to this. Believe it or not, as the story goes, Rhea does fool Kronos. Kronos swallows whole or devours, whichever, because they're gonna, spoiler alert, they're gonna come back. So that he didn't like chew them. The Goya and Rubens depictions were meant to be really gruesome and awful, but in the ancient version, he just swallows them whole. And then Rhea effectively tricks him by giving him a stone, and he swallows that stone. And that's really Zeus. Zeus grows up then because he didn't get swallowed. Now, Zeus is going to want to get revenge on his father. At this point, I want to read to you Hesiod's version of this account. Great Kronos. Let's go back here. Great Kronos swallowed his children as each one came from the womb to the knees of their holy mother, with the intent that no other of the illustrious descendants of Uranus should hold kingly power among the immortals. For he learned from Gaia and starry Uranus that it was fated that he be overcome by his own child. And so he kept vigilant watch, and lying in wait, he swallowed his children. A deep and lasting grief took hold of Rhea, and when she was about to bring forth Zeus, the father of gods and men. Then she entreated with her own parents. She asked her own parents, Gaia and star Uranus, to plan with her how she might bring forth her child in secret, and how the avenging fury of her father, Uranus, and of her children whom great Kronos of the crooked counsel swallowed, might exact vengeance. And they readily heard their dear daughter, and were persuaded. And they counseled her about all that was destined to happen concerning Kronos and his stout-hearted son. And they sent her to the town of Lyctus in the rich land of Crete, when she was about to bring forth the youngest of her children, great Zeus. And vast Gaia received him from her in wide Crete to nourish and to foster. Carrying him from Lyctus, Gaia came first through the swift black night to Mount Dicte. And taking him in her hands, she hid him in the deep cave, in the depths of the holy earth on thickly wooded Mount Aegaeum. And she wrapped up a great stone in infants' coverings, and gave it to the son of Uranus, who at the time was the great ruler and king of the gods. Then he took it in his hands, the poor wretch, and rammed it down his belly. He did not know in his heart that there was any left behind in the stone's place, his son unconquered and secure, who was soon to overcome him and drive him from his power and rule among the immortals. So even in Hesiod's account, it's kind of strange that Uranus, again, was defeated, perhaps even killed, yet is still kind of around in the story for Rhea to talk to. These kinds of inconsistencies are going to really be part of Greek mythology. All right, so that's the end of this video. There'll be another video coming next. All right. Wale Teomnes.